Well, we've reached that point where Liar's Poker has to kind of come to an end. I'm doing this roughly 28 hours before the trade deadline, 6 p.m. on Thursday. Uh, you know, can't listen to any more complaints. There's not enough sellers. The prices are too high. That would be economics 101. Too little supply, too much demand. Am I a buyer? Am I a seller? Am I both? Am I neither? We're kind of getting to the point of can't do that anymore. At 6 o'clock Thursday night, that's the last chance that teams have to improve this roster or future rosters if you're a seller right now. And so you got to get to it. There's obviously been several trades already of some prominence. Both New York teams have been involved. I expect they're going to continue to be involved. So I figured I'd play a little game right now of what would make this extra spicy. At this point, I reached out to a lot of people over the last 24, 48 hours, and the game I'm going to play is if more than one, so two or more people, mention the guy's name as they think he could be gotten, he's available in some way, I'm going to mention him. I'm going to try for my aggregator friends to say that does not mean these players will be traded. It's only that they're being discussed out there. And the first name I'm going to use is Mason Miller, who would really shake up the market. We've talked about the high-end relief market and how many teams are in it, including both the Mets and the Yankees, and perhaps at this point the two teams most prominent, Dodgers, Phillies, the Tigers want relievers. I mean, pretty much any contender. The Mariners want it. Miller is a guy, he averages 101.2 miles per hour with his fastball. He's hit 104.1, the highest in the sport, a bunch of times this year. 25 of the 31 hardest thrown pitches this season were thrown by Mason Miller. The A's are in a situation where, they're playing for the future, playing for Las Vegas. Does he actually get out in the market? The one thing I've heard is it's going to take a top 25 in the sport prospect as the front of a package. That does not feel to me like something the Yankees or Mets would do for a relief pitcher. Would anyone do it for a relief pitcher, even a guy who averages 101 plus? Maybe. Everyone's out there looking for it, so who knows? Second name I want to highlight, Stephen Kwan. There is a desperation for bats in this market. Historically, the Guardians are a team that gathers information at this time of year on its most interesting players and then trades them in December when perhaps there's more teams involved and they know fully about your system. They know about what they're willing to do. It often frustrates teams. But Kwan has been asked about so much in this marketplace. Again, Dodgers and Phillies are there, the Padres very much, and we'll get to them in a second and their intensity on this issue. I just want to throw in a side note here. As I was texting and calling around over these past few days, I realized the Dodgers are kind of the Mike Myers from Halloween of Major League Baseball now. They're just lurking out there ready to do something in the minds of every other team pretty much. I guess this is what happens when you take your payroll over 400 million, when you're willing to pay 160 million plus minimum in luxury tax, more if they start doing things at this trade deadline, and when you have a deep farm system, even after everything they've done over the last few years and winning two recent championships, including last year. I can't tell you how many people told me they think that the Dodgers will end up with Miller, Kwan, or some combination of both, or a high-end reliever and a bat for sure. They're just that kind of team now. I would say the second most common thing, just because of his history, is Dave Dombrowski is getting a high-end relief pitcher. That's why he got mentioned in the Mason Miller thing, and I think you'll hear him involved in everything, like the Minnesota guys, Joan Duran and Griffin Jacks. If they move, Cleveland moves Kate Smith. I've heard the Phillies are definitely on David Bednar. Ryan Helsley's out there. So those are the guys that have come up most often associated with all teams that want relief pitching. The third one is Dylan Cease. His name has come up quite a bit recently, and I really want to make this about somebody else who the industry talks about a lot, which is AJ Preller, who heads baseball operations with the Padres. AJ is a very active, aggressive head of baseball operations, but over the years, he's made a lot of trades. So that's emptied out a lot of the farm system. He worked when he built the farm, built the payroll under Peter Seidler was the owner, the beloved owner. He died in November 2023. The people who have taken over aren't that interested in spending that level of money. So if Preller's going to get active and he wants to be active in this market, he's got to get creative. And so, does that mean trading Cease, who's not having a great year but has big stuff and durability? One name that came up, Robert Suarez, their closer. He controls two options for $8 million after this season. They have to be decided on simultaneously. He'll almost certainly go in the free agent market if he's not hurt. And San Diego had three all-star pitchers this year, relievers, and Adrian Morejon and Jason Adam too. So they're maybe one of the teams that can trade from the depth of their farm system. Who knows? That the one thing you hear over and over about Preller is he wants to get either Kwan or Boston's Jarren Duran to kind of add to his outfield, which has been short a bat and a player. He'd love for it to be a lockdown defender like one of those. Fallback position seems to be Luis Robert Jr. from the White Sox, but the Phillies and Mets are there. The Mets are apparently very interested in Robert Jr. If he gets moved in this marketplace. So that will be interesting. Number 4. Shane Bieber of the Guardians. I'm going to talk a lot here about two former Cy Young Award winners. Usually you would hear Cy Young Award winners. Those are guys who really spice up the market. But Bieber hasn't pitched in the major leagues this year. He underwent Tommy John surgery early last season. He made a rehab start of 4 innings. The numbers were good on Wednesday. And the market is such that maybe the Guardians can actually make a trade for him. The one thing to remember, he controls his own $16 million option for next year. There's a $4 million buyout. So if he gets re-injured, he'll just pick up the $16 million. An acquiring team would be on the hook. And if he pitches well, he'll likely opt out. So that's not an easy player to trade. How do you trade that? Is it a 2-year guy? If it's a 2-year guy, is it a booby trap? Is it just this? Is he still a Cy Young Award level pitcher? The Guardians kind of showed what kind of thing is possible here. Last year, they signed as a free agent Matt Boyd, who hadn't pitched all year coming off of Tommy John surgery. They signed him in late June. He didn't pitch until August. And then he pitched really well for them, helping them to and in the playoffs. And he set himself up for a really nice payday in the offseason with the Cubs. The other one they did like this, Alex Cobb had hip surgery. Then he had some arm issues. He hadn't pitched at all for the Giants at this time last year. And he got traded from the Giants to the Guardians, and he made a couple of starts, I think 3 major league starts, 2 playoff starts. It didn't go very well. So you can see how doing this doesn't work. The other Cy Young Award winner to talk about is Sandy Alcantara. Look, his name has been out there all year. He seemed on March 1st, say, the most obvious guy to get traded, and he's pitched very poorly most of this season. But not his last 2 starts. 12 innings, 1 earned run, and he's looked a lot more like 2022 NL Cy Young Award winner Sandy Alcantara. The problem is he's still sitting with a 6.36 ERA. That's the largest in the sport for anyone who's qualified. But by the way, Arizona's Zach Gallen 5.60 is 2. He's likely to get traded, and Cease is 8th, 4.79, and he might get traded. Alcantara owed about $6 million the rest of this year, 17 next year, 21 club option with $2 million buyout in 2027. Will the Marlins only do this if he gets treated like a Cy Young Award winner? Who would treat him like that when most of the season hasn't gone well? But the hunger for starting pitching is such that his name's certainly out there. And I'll throw in one other name that got mentioned by an executive. Pablo Lopez hasn't pitched since June with a shoulder injury. He probably won't pitch before September 1st, but he's Pablo Lopez. He's really good. If you think he's actually coming back from this injury, he makes about $7 million more this year and has 2 years at $43 million left after the season. Would the Twins trade him at a moment where it's questionable what they might get back? Would somebody jump in with real questions about what they get back, the rest of this season at the least, with a good amount of money owned in the future? Last name I'm going to mention as we head towards the deadline, McKenzie Gore of the Nationals. The prominent starting pitcher with control years who's having an excellent season mentioned most often is Minnesota's Joe Ryan. Got it? Understand it? I think the Twins are getting lots of hits on Joe Ryan. What makes McKenzie Gore somewhat interesting and even similar is, like Ryan, he made the All-Star game for the first time this year. And like Ryan, he can't be a free agent until after 2027. You get a couple of more seasons with him. What's confusing here a little bit is the Nationals fired Mike Rizzo, their head of baseball operations, and Mike DiBartolo is in charge of baseball operations for the Nationals right now. This is a huge decision for the near future of the Nationals. Is ownership of the Washington team actually going to let an interim GM make that kind of big scope decision? It's part of the intrigue as we head towards 6 p.m. Thursday.